The Commission was warned that this economic crisis was coming 2 years ago, and they did nothing. And she's sorry about that. So, Nellie's sorry. She's sorry that she didn't do anything. Why didn't they do anything in Brussels? They didn't do anything because when they mess up, there's nothing you can do about it. There's nobody that you can vote for or against. Because today, approximately 80% of all of our laws in Ireland, our new laws, come from Brussels. And they are initiated by people that you don't know and that you can't name. And I'll do this to this group here. It's very unfair because just to say, I asked the leading political journalists in Berlin a few weeks ago this question. I just asked a young lady, a journalist from the largest newspaper in Germany. She just interviewed me downstairs before I came up here. I asked her the same question. And I asked the leading French political journalist this question a couple of weeks ago. Can anybody give me the name of 3 people who initiated the vast majority of laws in this country last year? They came from Brussels. Can anyone name me 3 people that initiated those laws? No. Can anybody name me 1 person? No. We don't know their names. We don't know what they look like. We don't know where they're from. We don't know if they're being bribed. Maybe they're not. And let's say they're not. But we don't know because we don't even know who they are. And these are the people that are initiating the majority of our laws. And this is supposed to be a democracy still? Now what that treaty would have done, it would have enshrined that situation, and it did 4 binary things which were very important from an economic competitive standpoint. It made sure that 80% plus of our laws would be initiated from Brussels by people that you don't know and that you can never vote for or against, because the European Parliament cannot initiate legislation. So it's not really a legislature. You can only initiate legislation in Brussels from inside the Commission. Secondly, that treaty would make you a citizen of the European Union legally, which isn't a bad thing, in addition to your Irish citizenship. But it also categorically stated that the laws of the Union shall have primacy over the laws of the member states. And people will say, Dick Roach will say, oh, but that's been in every treaty since Maastricht, and that European law is supreme. Yes, but it never made you a citizen before. So you weren't directly subject. Now you are. And let me tell you something here, very honestly. When the Irish Times writes every single day articles and columns and editorials to try and scare the life out of you, that we must agree to everything that Brussels says, otherwise we will be on the economic periphery of Europe, or we'll sink or something. They're lying. Or if they're not lying, they just don't know what they're talking about.
They know well.
If we are going to pull ourselves successfully out of this oncoming economic hurricane that we face into, we have to have control over our tax policy, completely. We need to be flexible. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be some level of European, call it federal taxation, whatever you want. That's okay. They need money to be able to run the European Union, and I'm all right with that. But we need to be able to have flexibility with regard to core tax policy in this country, because we need it as a tool to enable our economic recovery. We don't need a Brussels that comes up with red tape to try and cripple businesses that compete here. Businesses that want to establish in this country, but that where competitors can come in to a Brussels who may have more money, these competitors, and pay a lobbyist, as a lawyer said to me a few weeks ago, from one of the largest law firms in the world. He said, we like Brussels. Now, by the way, he agrees with Libertas, but he said, our firm likes Brussels, he said, because You can go to Brussels, you can write the legislation for your client, you can work it through the Commission Secretariats, and it ends up on the statute books as law in Berlin, in London, and in Paris a few months later, and no one even reads it. No one even reads it. In 2006, there were 407 laws introduced on the Irish statute books that came from Brussels. The average amount of time that each one of those was reviewed for was 26 seconds. When Libertas gets into the European Parliament, and we will get in, and there will be lots of us in there, we're going to do a few things. First of all, you can be sure that every waking hour that God gives me, I will be making sure that I put my constituents first. That if you give me... Because I'm not going in there for the wages or the salary. I'm not going in there to use their swimming pool. I'm not going in there for any of those reasons. I want to work for you. I am applying to all of you for a job. I want you to hire me when you go to that ballot box on June the 5th and give me a job to work for you. I'm applying for employment to you. I'm humbly asking you to give me the job to be your representative in Brussels, because I promise you before God, nobody has ever worked harder for you there, or will ever work harder for you than I will if I get in. And economic recovery and growth is going to be right there at the top of the Libertas agenda. It's going to be at the top of my agenda for Ireland North West, and it's going to be at the top of the Libertas Party's agenda for the whole of Europe. Because we actually have a vision for the European Union and for the future of the almost 500 million people of Europe. We are daring enough to be able to have the ambition to imagine that we are capable in Europe of a new renaissance, something we haven't done for hundreds of years. We have to do it. So why are we moving forward with this Libertas plan? Well, unfortunately, as all of the major parties in this country, one of whom I was very loyal to for many years, as all of them have handed over, and I know it's tough, I know we've all got family ties, our grandparents voted for a particular party, maybe we voted for them as well. The civil war in Ireland is over. It finished in the 1920s. Civil war politics here is an anachronism that we cannot afford anymore. Forget it. We are facing even greater challenges now to our future, and we've got to be able to meet them. People went out in this country and fought and bled and died for our independence and for our sovereignty. For our ability to make our laws and govern us accountable. Today, people that make most laws in this country never have to ask you for a vote. It's a bizarre turn of events. It's a bizarre turn of events where parties who were once principled on all sides will tell you that you should say yes to something that will put an unelected president over you, that you never get to vote for or against you, but who will represent you on the global stage. And these are people that fell out, understandably, over the issue of sovereignty and who was sovereign and who was going to be representing them on the global stage.